Morning, friends. I hope you guys have been enjoying some of our footage from behind the scenes filming Native the Prodigies of an Icon. That's important work. You know, I don't think that this fight against meat is necessarily over. I think it's just kind of on a hiatus since some of the big fake companies kind of plummeted in their sales. But it will be back, and sharing the truth about kind of, you know, American agriculture and how important some of these animals are to our ecosystem is really important. Another thing is stay tuned for later this week. I will be posting a video on some upcoming power outages you should be aware of, and you know how you can prepare for that. But today I wanted to talk about something a little different. A lot of you have seen in these travel videos where I'm sometimes traveling by myself and then all of a sudden Shauna and the kids appear. We had been working on an RV for our nonprofit. It's still not where we feel that it's safe on the road. I mean, we've got tires to go. I finally got the brakes fixed. A lot of things have to be done before I want to put my family in something like that and travel cross country. But part of the reason why we wanted to do that is because if you followed this channel while we were filming, we totally toasted one of our cars, and it left us in a bad position. Whereas if that were the RV, at least it wasn't our family car. It was, you know, something that was owned by the nonprofit production company. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about something that we did do that was effective in traveling, and you know, offer you guys some tips for sleeping in your car. Now, I know some of you guys sleep in your car on a regular basis. I don't get kicked out of the house that often, but I do end up doing a lot of these road trips, and I'll drive across the country. I could do it a lot faster on my own. It's a lot easier on the kids for me to just kind of shoot out, especially if we're heading to the west and we live on the East Coast. You know, there's no need for them to join me until I get to, you know, our first destination. So a lot of times they'll take like one of the Frontier flights or something for, you know, 50, 60 bucks and fly from here to Denver, and I'll pick them up in Denver and take, you know, a couple days and drive on my own. But to make it efficient, to make it work, you know, what we've done is we've weighed out the costs of the whole family going and staying in hotels or campgrounds versus me going and doing what we just call a vagabond. You know, I sleep out of the car, I eat out of the car, I do all the things out of the car. And I'm sure that, you know, some of you who are hikers or, you know, whatever it is, whatever your activity is, you probably find yourself doing the same thing, sleeping out of the car. It's such an easy thing to do. You can go to a rest stop, sleep out of the car. You can go to a truck stop, sleep out of the car. But I think, you know, where you can kind of go backwards on this is when you're sleeping out of the car, sometimes you don't have resources for food and all of that jazz. So if you've watched our travel vlogs, I often pull a black trailer, kind of matches the car behind us. That is usually full of luggage. We don't put a lot of equipment back there. Most of the equipment is in the car, and that's because the car has nice shocks and we don't want our equipment just banging around. So we'll pack that full of clothes and things, and then we also put in there some large batteries. Those batteries can power coffee makers, they can charge our equipment. Depending on what you're doing and who you are, you will have different power needs. So I'll do a different video talking about different power setups depending on what your needs are. But in this video, just simply out of the car, you know, some things that'll make your life easier, and just, you know, these are tools that I think everybody could use, regardless of what activity you're doing, but specifically traveling out of the back of a vehicle for days on end. Number one, you know, underneath my sleeping bag, I don't have it in here at the moment, but I normally have a Coleman mattress that is just about that thick. And that gives me just enough cush over the seats to make it feel a little comfortable. I'm not a big sleeping bag person, so I usually use a wool blanket. And when it's cold outside, I like to have some sort of beanie to put on my head. This is a beanie from the Buffalo Wool Company. You guys have seen me wear it a lot on our channel. They make some of the best wool products that you can possibly buy. Part of that is because it's made out of bison fiber, which is, you know, since ancient times has been the fiber for cold weather. I mean, they have survived the Ice Age for a reason, and that makes, you know, the bison fiber, the bison wool, substantially better than any other wool or fiber you can get. I'm hoping the Buffalo Wool Company will start coming out with some wool blankets. Of course, that's probably fairly expensive. It's not as easy to get the wool fibers from bison as it is from, you know, other animals that you're used to seeing it from. Something I will say that has made my life a lot easier is you hear road noise. You hear it while I'm talking. If you're sleeping at a truck stop, a lot of times the trucks are running and running and running and running and running. And you'll hear their brakes going off. They come and go throughout the night. Rest stops are about the same way. Cars are coming and going. People are talking. And during the summertime, we actually have, I'll show it to you. Hold on. We have a screen that's got magnets on it, and you can just kind of throw this over your sunroof. I don't know what this is called. I'll look it up and put a link down below. But this thing is awesome because you can keep, you know, the bugs out, have a window open, and rest. But the problem is that noise, right? That noise is going to keep you up all night long. I can't even stand the noise on the side, sitting out here in front of my house with the road nearby. So this is a great item that was given to us to use. And what I have found is that you can get a white noise app on your cell phone, right? This is called the Olight music lantern, and it's a lantern. I mean, it's got kind of a soft glow light. You can bring it up all the way to like kind of a bright white light, which is really nice. My kids use this a lot when they go camping because it's just easier than trying to hook up a propane lantern when you're in a car like this. One of the big things that I'm paranoid of is waking up with a dead battery because I left lights on while I was reading, because I tried to keep airflow going through the car, any of those things. I want my car completely off. I don't want it using any energy when I'm sleeping, because the worst thing that could happen to me is I wake up and have a dead battery. So having a light source at night while you're in the car, you're getting ready for bed, it's nice. But the music, so this is a Bluetooth speaker down here, and this thing is like, I mean, it's made out of metal. This is glass. I mean, this is really nice quality the way it's made, and that's one of the things I like about some of Olight's products. It's just high quality stuff. But you can basically, you know, use your Bluetooth to play music on this. White noise. I have a white noise app. Play ocean waves, whatever it is I want. And you know, back on the charging port on the back, there's a spot where I could actually plug my phone in and have it charging while I'm sleeping, and it's playing white noise through the Bluetooth speaker. So sleeping in a car where there's noise, this is a great item. The surround sound is a little bit better than your cell phone. It's a lot better than your cell phone. So it can really kind of make you kind of float off and dream and think that you're sleeping by an ocean instead of sleeping on the side of the road. So great item to have on hand. And you know, these lanterns are great for all sorts of emergencies on the side of the road. And if you are going somewhere where you're going to camp out, you know, again, it just makes things easier for you. Hey there, puppies. Having a dog in your car is also a nice thing to have, because that's kind of like having your own alarm system, right? When I travel by myself, as long as I'm not going to Canada, you can expect that I will have most likely a dog with me, and I will also have an everyday carry with me, which is a concealed gun, if I'm allowed to say that anymore on YouTube. Another thing I always tell my kids to have in their cars is a hatchet. I like to have, this is my hatchet. This is a Grant First Brooks Wildlife hatchet. It's probably one of the best hatchets I've ever used. I mean, when it comes to ease of cutting, fantastic tool. And that way, if you do stop in at a campground or whatever, you have a resource for chopping up wood. And I'm going to get to food in a second, because that's really important. But since I had brought up Olight, it's always a good idea to have an EDC flashlight with you. And it could just be, you know, for walking to the bathroom at the rest stop at night, whatever it is. Having one that can get extremely bright to shine in somebody's eyes is definitely an important safety feature, especially if you're a female. My daughter carries a no light in her car. A lot of my kids will have similar flashlights in their cars, but Olight does have a new, get this one, it's called the Diffuse. This is just a good pocket-sized flashlight. It definitely gets pretty bright. And it also has the moonlight setting. I love that setting because I'm not a huge flashlight person at night, but if I have to walk somewhere along the side of the road or something, I like to be able to at least see where my feet are going. If you are somebody who is camping out regularly, hiking on trails, this baton flashlight is great because it's basically it's a much smaller flashlight. If you are stuck on the side of the road, you have to change a tire or something, it's got your clip, so you can clip it to your hat, which is always a nice thing. But probably one of the best benefits of the baton is, number one, it gets very bright. Let's see if I can get it on here. It's a very bright light it packs a punch for the size that it is. And it charges, it has a charging case. So if you're out on the road or you're out away from your vehicle or a charging source for a long period of time, you can have this sitting in your pack and it could be charging in between uses, and it lasts a long time because you've got the battery and the light, and then you've got the battery pack to keep it charged. So these are two great EDC options, and you should always have an EDC light in your car, especially when you're traveling by yourself and you have to go to restrooms in the middle of the night. You know, the lantern is nice in the car or when you're cooking food or whatever it is that you're doing. But for your safety, having an EDC light that can literally blind somebody if you had to shine it in their eyes to get away, that's, in my perspective, an important thing for anybody to have. Now, food is kind of the last big tip that I have for you, because when you're traveling, if you don't have a way of keeping food good for long periods of time, and what I'll often do is I'll just bring you know, a single burner stove, camping stove, and some water. You can cook rehydrated meals, things like that. But I also like to eat fresh. You know, I think everybody likes to eat fresh. And so we have here is an EcoFlow Glacier. And this is, they have many different brands of these, but these are basically refrigerator appliances that sit in your car and I mean, they'll keep food cold. My wife uses this when she goes shopping because we live out in the country. It's an hour to get to some of the bulk grocery stores like Costco, and it's a lot better for us with a family to buy bulk, especially right now with meat. You know, we like to keep ourselves stocked up, so we, you know, travel an hour to get good prices. Costco also has ground bison, which is fantastic. I can tell you the great range bison that they sell there. I have been to the ranches where those bison have been raised. I've been to the plant where those bison have been processed. I like knowing where my food comes from. So if you do shop at Costco, great range brand bison is fantastic. 2.5 pounds is 19 bucks. And considering the health benefits over beef, you can't beat it. Anyway, so she uses this when she goes grocery shopping, whatever. If we take our boat out, which we haven't done in over a year, we would put it on the boat and you would have cool drinks in it and stuff like that. What's nice about the EcoFlow Glacier is that it can split. You can have it as one big cooler, or you can split it and you can have half freezer, half refrigerator, and you can keep some frozen goods in there. And it'll keep it frozen for a long period of time. The other thing that it has that I think is amazing is it has an ice cube maker. So if you're on the road and you want some ice cubes for, you know, whatever it is you're drinking in the evening, you can easily make some ice cubes and it just drains out when you're done. It has a handle that extends out and wheels in the back, so it's really easy to transport. And the EcoFlow Glacier, I'm not sure a whole lot about other refrigerators. I had, you know, for a while worked with Rock Pals. I think they had one for a while. My guess is that for a lot of those companies, you know, because they move these products in and out, maybe it wasn't wasn't the best, right? In our case, we really like the way that this one is designed. It's battery operated. I really like the EcoFlow products because they're all very nice, high quality products, and they last for a long time. We have taken these things cross country with us several times, put them through a beating, and they're still trucking along like they were new. So I like that, and I like that I can trust what I'm getting with it. But you could also hook these into their solar panels. So because we carry in our small trailer, because we carry their big battery packs, we have solar panels in there. So we can solar charge both of our battery packs. We can solar charge our EcoFlow if we had to. You could also just plug it into your car's DC port. And I mean, while you're driving, it would last forever. I just always unplug it at night when I'm sleeping because, again, I don't want to drain my battery. But I know that that thing will last for a couple days with the freezer setting on, and I don't have to worry about recharging it because it stays cold that long. Definitely, I mean, if it's not an EcoFlow, it doesn't have to be, but definitely look at getting a real fridge cooler for your car and not one of those little mini fridges. We used to have one of those little mini fridges that you could barely just stick a couple drinks into. Thing was horrible. It had to be plugged into a DC port. Half the time it would stop working. That the junk that you can get from some of the big box stores just isn't worth it. If you're doing this on a regular basis, if you're an outdoor hobbyist, it's better to spend the money and have something that's going to last. And that's going to last a lot longer than a Yeti or anything else because, you know, it's got the battery backup, it's got the solar capabilities, it's got all the things that you possibly need. And even with just a full charge, it's going to stay cooler inside for several days. It'll keep things frozen. So, I mean, you really can't beat that. Especially, you know, these days with power outages and everything else that goes on. It's nice to have something that you can put your food in and know that it's going to be safe. But for us, it's a travel cooler. It's a way of making sure that we don't have to spend money on the road buying food at fast food joints. I've actually, since we started filming and since we've had some of this gear, you know, last year in early spring, I weighed about 25 pounds more than I do now. And a majority of that weight loss has just been from having the resources of eating healthier food while we're driving these long distances and sitting in the car. Getting away from fast food, having better resources could actually impact your health while you're on the road. And it's made a big difference for me, you know, and I'm sure it would make a big difference for anybody else who's stuck traveling a lot. So those were just some tips and some ideas of things that you might want to have if you're going to be doing this type of thing, or if your wife kicks you out of the house often and you find yourself sleeping out of the car. I mean, all of these are great tips for whatever your needs are. Whether you're going on a hunting trip for the weekend with your buddies, who knows? Whatever it is, these are great things to have, good setups to have. And, you know, realistically, we don't know what the future looks like. And you never know when you're going to have to hit the road and be on it for a long time. Things happen. Societies collapse. And so having a good setup to be able to trek cross country without having to go into populated areas and be able to be sufficient on your own for a long period of time before you hit another stop, I would think is an important setup to have just for self-preparation. Anyway, stay tuned. Like I said, later this week, I'm going to have a video on upcoming power outages that I think you should be aware of, what's going to trigger them, and how you can prepare for them, because these power outages will last longer. The ones that I'm going to talk about will last longer than, you know, your typical power outage that you're used to. So it's important to be prepared for these things, and we'll discuss what's going to cause them and why you can expect them.